What is up, YouTube? ITV here with another edition of iReview, and the topic for today is Fox's television show Utopia and its cancellation. Now, if you don't know what Utopia is, I'll have some pages in the description for you, so check those out. But if you do know what Utopia is, then you're at the right place. Now, this show aired on Fox on Tuesday and Friday. Well, it actually got canceled on Tuesday, but then it got ultimately canceled on Friday. So it actually aired twice a week up until its imminent cancellation. But yeah, this show was on Fox. It lasted 13 episodes, and the basic premise was that there was 15 people, I think 15 people that were supposed to, they were stranded in the middle of nowhere, basically, with cameras all around, and they're supposed to establish a new community to see if people could live in harmony and work towards a common goal of establishing a new community, basically. And like I said, 15 people, they're gonna butt heads. But that's not outside what the main problem was with this show. Besides its cancellation, the main problem with this show was that when you have 15 people on a television show, you have 15 people. Actually, they come in and out because they would actually vote people off and vote some new people in, but that's a different story. But when you have 15 people, you have to have a favorite. There has to be somebody that's your favorite on a television show. And for this show, whenever I watched it, I did not have a favorite. Everybody on the show was not that likable. In all my years of watching television, I have never seen a bigger group of unlikable people. I just was not a fan of the cast whatsoever. It's supposed to be a reality TV show, so I don't think it was scripted, or so they say, air quotes, unscripted. But yeah, with the show of 15 people, you have to have a favorite. But for this show, I did not have a favorite. I feel like this is the most disingenuous cast of characters I've ever seen in my life. Even the people that are supposed to be likable were not that likable, and I'll get to that later. They just were not that likable at all. And another big problem with this show was that it had no conflict at all. It had conflict, but I'm gonna go into detail on that. Okay, when you watch a TV show, we're all guilty of this. When you watch a TV show, you want to see fights, you want to see drama, correct? That brings ratings, does it not? Now, this show had a little bit of that, but it got dissolved very quickly because the characters would argue with each other, and then they would make up 5 minutes later after a bunch of crying. They would all make up with each other, and I was just like, "Are you serious?" This show right now, what are they doing? Yeah, 1 minute you guys are arguing, the next minute you're hugging, crying, and that's just the end of the conflict. There's no conflict. I feel like this cast was just so disingenuous because everybody tried to be everybody's friend. Now, with the show of 15 people in a deserted area, that's not how things are going to work around here. I feel like the people on the show had no idea what they were doing, and that's kind of why it got canceled, because I think Fox started to lose faith in them. I kind of feel like they had no idea what they were doing. They were spending money like crazy. The money was limited on the show. They were spending it up on luxury, so they went broke after a while. And I think Fox at that point is just like, you know what, we're sending you guys home. It failed because they had no idea what they were doing. And the bad part about it is that most of the people on that show actually had life skills. That's the bad part about it. You had a guy that was in the army that was a chef. You had a guy that was a farmer. You had a lady up there that was a farmer / gardener. You had a carpenter up there. You had a yoga instructor who was very, very attractive, by the way. You had all these skills. You had a plumber on this show. They even had a lawyer and an accountant on this show, and they could not manage to bring in any revenue at all. All these great minds could not bring up any revenue whatsoever. And I'll get that topic of great mind. People on this show would have rather gotten drunk than actually do the show correctly. And also on the first couple of episodes, they were the women like to go naked into the lake, which I was not opposed to that at all, but for the sake of being productive, that's really unproductive. Like nobody had any problem solving skills, but they had all these great minds. It made no sense at all. But the final moments of this show, I would say like the last 4 episodes. They had 13 episodes. I would say the last 4, it was just absolute garbage, honestly. Like I don't get me wrong, I like this show. I actually watched this show. I had seen every episode of this show, which is why I'm taking the time to review it now in its cancellation. But I feel like the last 4 episodes especially was just absolute garbage. Okay, I'm gonna elaborate on that. Okay. Whenever I see a grown ass adult crying, it's cringeworthy for me. And that's what they did on this show. They like to cry a lot on this show. Whenever I see a grown ass adult crying, it's borderline cringe for me. I'm not saying you shouldn't cry. That's not what I'm saying. But whenever you cry over the stupidest stuff, it's borderline cringe. Now, on the last 4 episodes, I say somebody was in danger of getting voted off, and let me tell you, the waterworks were turned on like crazy. Like everybody started crying, and it was just like it got really awkward to watch. Like everybody sitting around the table trying to vote somebody off, and literally everybody starts crying, and it was just very awkward to watch. Like I don't like to see grown people in front of America who was watching the show cry. It's really just, it's weird for me. I don't know why. And they're crying over the stupidest stuff. Like you barely know these people. It was barely even a month, 2 months, and they're crying because they gotta vote somebody off. Like there wasn't a single dry eye in the house. I just thought it was just very weird. I'm not a big fan of crying on national television. If I were to ever go on national television, the first thing I would not do is cry. That's just not what I'm going to do. But let's see what else they talk about. But yeah, I said this show had potential. It was executed so poorly. Like this, I feel like this show it had a future, but it was like once again it was executed so poorly. And honestly, if you have a show, just don't put it on Fox. Like there is so much competition, and Fox loves canceling stuff. That's a well-known fact. I'm sure your favorite show's been canceled by Fox, which is why I thank God that Big Bang Theory it runs on TBS and not Fox. Like for the love of God, well, Fox will cancel anything. So if this is for everybody. If you ever have a show, don't put it on Fox. They will cancel it. But my final verdict on this show was that it was a great idea, but it was executed so poorly. That was the biggest problem. It was executed so poorly. And like I said, I'll have some things in the description for you to read up on this show. I'll have a bunch of articles linked. You know, don't take my word for it. Take it from a credible source, please. I'm just a guy with a buzzing microphone. Oh yeah, by the way, if the audio quality is too loud, please turn it down. Probably shouldn't have waited until about 9 minutes in to tell you that, but my volume is pretty high, and I can't realize that when I'm recording. So yeah, you know, like always, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and you know, read up on this show. But until next time, ITV is signing out. Later.